After a fraught week on the flat, the Tour heads into the mountains today in search of a bit of peace and quiet. Not that it's likely to find any. What it will find is perhaps the steepest final 200 metres to the finish line of any mountain the race has ever tackled. This will be the first test of Bradley Wiggins' Mallorcan mountain training, and at the end of it he might find himself in the yellow jersey. Close as we are to Switzerland, this is not Fabian Cancellara country, and he only has 7 seconds on Wiggins and Sylvain Chavanel. Wiggins has 6 seconds on Denis Menchov, 10 on defending champion Cadel Evans, and 11 over Vincenzo Nibali. Behind them are a whole host of men capable of making a move today, and quite a few who need to because of the time they've lost in crashes. Hello, we're at the top of La Planche des Belles Filles for the first summit finish of this year's Tour. And in fact, it's the first time the Tour has ever been up this climb. It's not massively high, just over 1,000 metres in altitude. And at 5.9 kilometres, neither is it particularly long. Although it's longer than it was before the local council added a kilometre of paved road and sacrificed a meadow to make a car park, much to the disgust of environmental groups who tried and failed in court to stop the race coming up here. Well, all we can say is that we're here now and we'll do our best to pick our way carefully through the nature reserve on the way out. So, given that it's neither long nor high, you might wonder why the Tour would go through all the bother and bad publicity of including it on the route. Well, the answer is steepness, and really that's the theme of this year's Tour, regular bursts of leg-sapping gradient. And of course, one of the benefits of the road going uphill is that it tends to string out the field, making mass pile-ups less likely. And before we get on with today's stage, let's update the casualty list from a nasty few days on the flat.
Nervous moments now.
We are hearing on the race radio there's a crash, and there it is. Oh, there's been a crash on the road here.
Oh, they've gone down. Mark Cavendish has gone down. Good job he had a helmet on. Look at the way that's been ripped to pieces.
And there's a crash in the peloton. There it is.
Oh, there's a big crash.
This doesn't look quite so good for some of the riders down.
The doctor's been busy this afternoon. There's a lot of damage being done in the peloton.
Slack is standing here, losing time, big time.
Cadel Evans is safe. Bradley Wiggins is safe. This is mayhem.
Now, we knew yesterday's crash was serious at the time, and it's become more serious overnight. Just to recap, 4 riders abandoned on the road after coming down yesterday. Euskaltel's Mikael Astalosa, Lampre's Davide Vigano, Tom Danielson of Garmin, and Wouter Poels of Vacances Soleil. And they were followed by 8 non-starters this morning. Another Euskaltel rider, Amit Chiruka, 2 more from Garmin, lead-out man Robbie Hunter and team leader rider Hejerdal, Hubert Dupont of AG2R, Oscar Freire of Katusha, who has a punctured lung, Martin Vinance of Rabobank, and a pair of Movistar riders, Imanol Erviti and Jose Ivan Gutierrez. The older generation of riders, of course, have seen this all before on the Tour, and as the older generation tend to do, they're blaming the younger generation.
Yeah, it's just been a mad tour. You know, a lot of young kids out there don't know how to ride bikes. You know, just a lot of inexperience, a lot of desperation, a lot of nerves. You know, I think everyone just needs to chill pill.
38-year-old Stuart O'Grady lapsing into crazy youth speak at the end there, or the youth speak of his youth possibly. Anyway, we thought we'd take a look at the makeup of the peloton in terms of age and experience. 23 of the 198 starters qualify for the best young rider category, being 25 or under. 35 men are riding their first Tour, although of course they include people like Greg Henderson, who's riding his at the age of 35. And Peter Sagan, who's only 22 but is one of the best bike handlers in the bunch, so I'm not sure how much value we can really extract from pure numbers. By the way, no less a man than Fabian Cancellara called Sagan a genius of the bike yesterday, and when Fabian praises you, you stay praised. So there are the 182 riders rolling out from Tomblaine this morning, and here's what's ahead of them. Stage 7 runs 199 kilometres to La Planche des Belles Filles, through the Vosges and into the Haute-Saône, as the organisers take the opportunity to try out some new climbs away from the traditional battleground of the Alps. First up, right after the day's sprint at 103 kilometres, is the Col du Gros-Pierre, topping out at just over 1,000 metres, and that's followed by the Col du Mont de Fourche at 633 metres, both third category hills. Then comes the first category 1 climb of this year's race, up here to the finish at La Planche des Belles Filles. Now, one more casualty from yesterday's crash to report. Anthony de la Place retired early in the stage, bringing the number of riders left in the race down to 181. A 7-man break set out early. Christophe Riblon of AG2R, Chris Anker-Sorensen of Saxo Bank, Martin Velitz of Omega Pharma Quickstep, Michael Albacini of Orica Green Edge, Cyril Gauthier of Europe Car, Dimitri Fofanov of Astana, and Luis Leon Sanchez of Rabobank. They took the big points at the intermediate sprint, which meant the green jersey leader Peter Sagan and his closest challenger Matt Goss were sprinting for 8th. At least they were sprinting to start with, but Goss and his team seem to have misjudged it completely. He blew up well before the banner, and Sagan cruised through to extend his lead in the standings by a single point.
Crash in the back. This is Jürgen van den Broek.
Now this is serious. This is Jürgen van den Broek, the leader of the Lotto team and the Belgian climber. That's why a teammate is helping him out here and getting him back on the road. This is very, very unfortunate.
Well, it's the wrong time for that to happen. As I say, Phil, to win the Tour de France, you have to be attentive on every day. You never know around what corner Lady Luck can be waiting for you. Sometimes she'll smile on you. Sometimes she's really mean.
This is the first catch from the breakaway. This is Cyril Gauthier, who is now back in the field. It's Edvald Boysenhagen, who has first man up to him, and he's on Team Sky.
Well, it's down to half a minute, the surviving 6-man breakaway, Phil, and the main field, and that is around about 500 yards. This man is scrambling to come back into the Tour de France.
4 hours and nearly 40 minutes they've been in the saddle. These are the survivors of the breakaway, but for how long? At 35 seconds the gap. Team Sky quite clearly now have taken control of the head of the race, and that is for Bradley Wiggins. We're waiting now to see the red and black jerseys of the team of Cadel Evans come up alongside. Wiggins openly fears Cadel Evans. Cadel Evans openly respects Bradley Wiggins.
However, there's one Italian in there in a lime green jersey by the name of Vincenzo Nibali, and he has said, I don't feel any impression at all by Bradley Wiggins. I am concerned about Cadel Evans, though, and Vincenzo Nibali has not either done anything wrong at all in this race so far. 7th overall, only 18 seconds behind. We are looking at the first real showdown of the Tour de France this year, while one man is not really in for the count. He's got to get himself back to the main field. There's another problem. This is Alejandro Valverde, 161, and he was a man who I thought could have been in with a chance of a victory here this afternoon, because Valverde is a kind of guy who has got the punch at the top of a climb and a finish like this. He too sporting a bandage on his left wrist there, his left elbow, having been involved in one of those big accidents on yesterday's stage. He will not be happy at having a problem so close to the finish.
Well, the breakaway under absolute pressure. Christophe Riblon, he's not going to give up. Not while they've got a few seconds advantage, but Paul, it's 20 seconds now. There's going to be a tornado blow up the valley. They're splitting the peloton now.
Well, the peloton of splits, and this is what happened to the damage at the back. The man who's won himself 3 stages so far leads the points competition for the most consistent rider at the end of the flat stages. Peter Sagan, he's gone. There is a very small peloton, but over on the right-hand side in the red and black jersey, you can see Cadel Evans surrounded by his merry men once again. But it's Bradley Wiggins' team for the moment who are taking the advance in the psychological warfare.
Look at this crowd here. You're going to see these people all the way to the top now, and they've had to walk there. No cars allowed. They've been walking since 7 o'clock this morning. 6 kilometers to the summit. We are on the way up to the top.
Well, Jürgen van den Broek has got to the back end of the second group. He's got to scuttle his way through there, and once he sees the gap in front of him, he's got to keep going and try to get himself back into this bike race. I'll tell you one thing, for those 6 leaders, Phil, when they see this mountain rear up in front of them, they must have thought it was like a hammer in the face.
Well, there's only 5 of them left. I could only count theirs. They've started the climb now, and just over the shoulder, there they come, the advance party of the peloton. It is Advantage Team Sky on the climb at the moment.
Well, it's all about what can they do for Fabian Cancellara. How long can Fabian Cancellara, the overall leader, stay in contact with the main field here this afternoon? I don't think he'll be able to stay in contact for the rest of this race. This is Fofanov having difficulty with his gears, or maybe with his legs.
Both, I think. He can't find them. This is Albacini we're looking at the moment. He is the front of Chris Anker-Sorensen, the last 2 survivors of the breakaway. They'll go for as long as they can. Look at the face behind of Christophe Riblon, the Frenchman. The gradient is now just on 10% at this point. It gets steeper, but we do have the little bit of descent in between. The peloton is coming up. Cadel Evans is looking to the back of the black jersey, blue sky, Team Sky for them. They are cracking big time now.
Slipping off the back, champion of the world in the individual time trial. That was Tony Martin. His thoughts are further around the corner in the individual time trial on Monday around Besançon. It's Michael Rogers is the man sitting on the front for Team Sky of the main peloton in that yellow helmet. Not riding for himself, not riding for Australia. He's riding for Bradley Wiggins, who is sitting in about third or fourth position. Wiggins, I am sure, will be challenged when we got to the top part of this climb by Cadel Evans, who's the man in the red and black jersey there, out of the saddle, just over to the right-hand side of the front end of the pack.
This is Chris Anker Sorensen, the sole survivor, and they're putting him back in his place. He won the King of the Mountains title in Spain in March in the Tour of Catalonia, but not on this climb now. And Robert Hessink is going, number 151. He fell yesterday, he lost time, he's cracking under the pressure as well.
The winner of the Amgen Tour of California this year in the month of May in a very dramatic style, but that crash, that injury has not put him at his best for the stage up to the top of the Planche des Belles Filles here this afternoon. But the big boys are coming out to play. 4 riders from Team Sky on the front. The 4th rider is Bradley Wiggins. No, the 2nd rider is Bradley Wiggins, just waiting. And this is the tactic that these guys have adopted all year, Phil, whether it's been in the Tour of the Algarve, whether it's been in Paris-Nice, whether it's been in a training camp in the islands of Tenerife in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They've ridden like this, in this formation.
Hey, what's this? This is Levi Leipheimer. He doesn't like these sort of climbs. He told us earlier he doesn't like these short climbs. He takes a while to warm up. He was worried about today, and he has lost contact. He is with the group of Robert Hessink, and also here is Tommy Voigtler, who finished 4th in the Tour de France. He's got a green jersey on there. It's Michael Rogers, the Australian from Canberra, setting the pace for Team Sky at the front.
This is a teammate of Cadel Evans, Philippe Gilbert. He was the most dominant rider on the circuit last year. This year can't quite get it together. 2 Australians in 1st and 2nd position. Michael Rogers, 3 times champion of the world in the individual time trial, followed by Richie Porte, the best young rider in the Tour of Italy a couple of years ago.
And Richie on the floor yesterday, but happily okay. Now Cancellara in yellow has been unhitched. He has already lost that leader's yellow jersey. He was 7 seconds in front of Bradley Wiggins at the start of this day.
Bradley Wiggins is now sitting in 3rd position, comfortably as you like, with his teammates in front of him.
Yes, and he's also being looked after by Chris Froome. There's an absence of the red and black jerseys there of Cadel Evans. Cadel has said for the moment he feels that Sky have the best team in the race, but he's relying very heavily on TJ Van Garderen, and there he is. Van Garderen shouldn't be unhitched here. That's a little bit of a surprise. The first day in the mountains does strange things. This is an amazing race right now, because this is Ivan Basso we just saw. Back to the head of the race of 4 kilometers to go. Michael Rogers still breaking this field up and discharging good riders now out the back. Team Sky on this sort of performance is annihilating the field, and Frank Schleck has been unhitched again at the back of the race. There he is, number 11.
This is Sylvain Chavanel, started the same time as Bradley Wiggins in these overall standings this morning at 7 seconds to the yellow jersey. Sylvain Chavanel in the pale blue there is in contact with Fabian Cancellara, who's riding for a man who's good at the flatlands, a very good defensive position. This is becoming a very small group indeed. And now we thought that Team BMC Racing was the strongest team of the 2 of the big challengers. Well, it's turning out to be Team Sky, because they've still got Richie Porte, Chris Froome, and of course Bradley Wiggins there. Cadel Evans is pretty much on his own in this group.
And right on the back and just hanging on was the Olympic champion Samuel Sanchez here. Cadel Evans has got his hands full now. 3 Sky riders in front of him, and he sits in 4th place. 31 at the back of that line is the Olympic champion Samuel Sanchez. But Team Sky are trying to write Cadel's team out of the script, and they are piling the pressure on with Richie Porte.
That's Wiggins in 2nd position. 105 in 3rd position. He's the cat in the box for Team Sky. This is Chris Froome. He was born in Nairobi, Kenya, in Africa, at 6,000 feet in altitude, and now today he's riding at the top end of the Tour de France. He finished 2nd overall in the Tour of Spain last year when he was trying to help Bradley Wiggins to win that event.
And in all honesty, that was a mistake by Sky. If Wiggins had helped Froome, he would have won that race last year. But that's history now. Froome is here to help Wiggins win the Tour de France, and it just shows who the strong men are. Wiggins has two allies on this climb, and Port is setting the pace. Behind him now at 3 kilometres to go is Froome. Frank Schleck, number 11, is looking for help now and looking into the face of a man he should be ahead of, and that's the yellow jersey, Cancellara.
Well, all of a sudden, you know, Frank Schleck went through a very hard period and he really couldn't get his legs ticking over, but when he felt that he was losing time, he said, well, I've got to limit my losses on a day like this, and he's taken off in pursuit to try and get as close to as possible to the men at the top end of the overall standings tonight. If the race was to finish right now, the man who would be the new leader of this race is the man in second position, and that, of course, is Bradley Wiggins. There, though, Cadel Evans on the left-hand side in the red and black jersey of BMC Racing. Phil, his face is not giving anything away. Vincenzo Nibali in the lime green jersey is the other rider there. He said, I'm not impressed with Bradley Wiggins at all, but I wonder if he's impressed with the team this afternoon. The rider in the red and white just behind Nibali there, of course, is Denny Menchoff.
Man we've often referred to as the silent assassin, who is just not doing anything wrong. He sits 5th overall in this race. He is with the group and he's profiting by the teamwork of Team Sky. Well, Tasmania is only a small island. It's part of the Australasian continent, and I have to say they're very proud of Richie Porte, who is doing a tremendous job at the front. Cancellara, he's stretching the elastic. It hasn't quite snapped. Well, the crowd is enormous. The lead group being spearheaded by Team Sky, tagged onto their coattails, and France will be delighted, is the youngster Pierre Roland, who won at Alpe d'Huez last year. He is now finding himself in a very, very select group indeed. Also, here's the Estonian, Ryan Taramay, as this group now is down to about 8 or 9 men. It's looking now as though Bradley Wiggins will be the next leader of the Tour de France.
Well, what is amazing, Phil, Wiggins is the man in second position. Just look at the suppleness of the way he's pedaling there. He's got a very low gear. He's keeping himself well inside of his maximum ability. He's been overtaken now by Chris Froome, who's moved up into second place. Richie Porte has not even looked over his shoulder yet. He's the rider in first position for Team Sky. He's just making the tempo for as long as he can. But I have to warn these guys, Phil, they're at 2.3 kilometres to go. That's around about 1.5 miles of racing. When they get to the kilometre mark, it's going to really start to hurt. 7
riders setting the pace to the summit of the finishing line today. This is Frank Schleck trying to get back on terms. Tony Galopin, a Frenchman, is trying to help him out just a little bit, but slowly but surely they are being dragged away from the Maillot Jaune as well. There is a new leader on the horizon and right up the mountain. And believe me, when we swing round the last 250 metres, you'll be amazed by the wall they face.
It is an amazing climb. That's Sammy Sanchez, the outgoing Olympic champion, just in front there in the orange jersey, wearing number 31, the title that he garnered in Beijing 4 years ago. Now it's up to the man born in Kenya in the continent of Africa, Chris Froome, to set the pace now. He's a strong climber. He's in this team to look after Bradley Wiggins over the final few climbs of any stage. They're inside of 2 kilometres to go.
This is why the 27-year-old was brought to the team. It's to help Wiggins. Now Porte has done his job. It's now up to Chris Froome, and then it's up to Wiggins himself to finish it all off. But look how they've destroyed the peloton of the Tour de France. Team Sky, one by one, has written most people out of the script.
Number 19 there is Jaime Zubeldia from Radio Shack Nissan. He's a very good Spanish climber, and I have a feeling here he may be sitting off the back because he's heard that Frank Schleck has recovered from his bad start to this climb, and he may well be waiting to pace the Luxembourger back up towards this group. Chris Froome just concentrating in first position.
Well, look at the face of Cadel Evans. They know the courage of Cadel Evans. Wiggins has spoken of the courage of Cadel Evans. He knows he's going to be very, very difficult. Ryan Taramay is going off the back at the moment. Denny Menchoff is cracking as well. Taramay is on the back. Menchoff has slipped off ever so silently. And Nibali is still there. It is now going to be Team Sky one-on-one. Do you know what? We could see the 2 race favourites leave this group shortly.
Well, in second position, Bradley Wiggins has not showed any emotion at all thus far. Further back down the slope there, that is Sammy Sanchez. He's been caught and passed now by Tony Galopin, the rider in first position, wearing number 13, and Frank Schleck. Frank Schleck is trying to keep himself in this bike race after a nasty start. Fabian Cancellara has been brave and courageous and flamboyant over the first week of the Tour, but he's not a mountain goat. He's a man for the flatlands. Froome just looks over. Nibali is the rider in the lime green jersey there in 4th position. He said he's not impressed by these men, but he's still in contact. He home-tuned his preparation for the Tour de France in the Amgen Tour of California, in the month of May, and I think he's actually put in the right preparation, because there he is, nice and comfortably, 7th overall at the start of the day, looking for 18 seconds.
As those now very select 5 leaders move clear of the field, Pierre Rolland, he is dropping off. He made a very good move, but it's not working out. Denis Menchoff is also falling back here. The pressure is on by Chris Froome at the front. How much longer can this man go? We are looking for the 1 kilometre kite. Bradley Wiggins, ahead of Cadel Evans overall by 10 seconds, is the next leader of the Tour, unless Cadel surprises and goes for gold and opens up that gap.
The gap that Cadel Evans needs if he wants to get the yellow jersey at the end of the day ahead of Bradley Wiggins is 10 seconds. That's a hard thing to do on the slopes of a climb like this, but Evans is the kind of rider who has that punchy explosion. That kite over the road there, 1 kilometre to go, 1,000 yards left in this race, but Phil, what 1,000 excruciating yards they are going to turn out to be, because the average gradient here is 14%. But to me, that's a bit of a joke, because when you turn around the corner at 350 metres to go, there's a wall in front of you at 20% gradient, which is difficult to walk up.
Well, about 600 metres from that corner as well. The 5 survivors of this riding now. Chris Froome, now in his dire moments, is lifting the pace until he can do no more. Wiggins is waiting on his rear wheel. Behind Wiggins is Cadel Evans. Behind Cadel Evans, the Italian favourite Nibali, and tacked onto the back, the Estonian rider Rein Taaramäe. We are heading towards the finish now as the stragglers are under the last kilometre. Evans makes the turn first, and that's a shrewd move.
Well, he wanted that. He now knows what this climb is going to be. 350 to go. It's at 250 metres to go that it really starts to get very, very grippy indeed. Now, Chris Froome in second position. They've got to stay in contact with Cadel Evans.
This is the move by Cadel Evans. Now, has he caught Wiggins? Wiggins has had to do this himself. Cadel Evans has hit the wall here and is intending to try and win the stage, and Wiggins is hanging on. Look at the face of Wiggins here as he tries to take the back wheel, and look at Chris Froome. Chris Froome, where has he found that strength from? He's worked all day for Wiggins, and now he is racing clear for the stage win. This is a little piece of history for Chris Froome as well, as he heads up towards the line now. Chris Froome is stealing the stage on the day, and Wiggins is going to be the next leader of the Tour. Chris Froome comes up towards the line. He's opened the gap over Cadel Evans. Cadel Evans cannot close that gap, and Wiggins is just following Cadel Evans to the line. Froome crosses the line, a tremendous show of strength, a wave of congratulations by the next leader of the Tour de France, Bradley Wiggins in 3rd place. What a battle of the favourites that was.
And what a result. He showed in the Vuelta a España last year what a great rider he is when he's healthy, and I think we can conclude safely from that ride that Chris Froome is pretty healthy. After their brief separation at the top of the climb, team leader and Super Domestique were reunited, recast as stage winner and race leader. Other than Evans, only Vincenzo Nibali of the big favourites had been able to stay in touch with the Sky pair. Behind them, Denis Menchoff had lost 50 seconds on the climb. Nicolas Roche came in 11th on the stage at 1 minute and 6 seconds, 3 ahead of Frank Schleck. Another 41 seconds back, Fabian Cancellara honoured the yellow jersey that he knew he was bound to lose with a strong ride for 20th. Right, let's confirm the result. Chris Froome with his first Tour de France stage win, 2 seconds ahead of Cadel Evans. Bradley Wiggins 3rd. Vincenzo Nibali 4th, 5 seconds behind them. Rein Taaramäe a strong 5th, 12 seconds further back. Then Aymar Zubeldia at 44 seconds. And Pierre Rolland and Jenis Brajkovic 2 seconds behind him. There's confirmation of where Menchoff, Roche and Schleck finished. The strength of Sky can be seen by the fact that Mick Rogers and Richie Porte finished so high up. Dan Martin was 17th, just behind Samuel Sanchez. Jurgen van den Broek had mechanical trouble at just the wrong time. He lost a minute 52. Robert Hesink, riding hurt, had a bad day, another minute back in 37th. So, 50 years and a day since Tom Simpson became the first British leader of the Tour de France, Bradley Wiggins takes over at the top. The gap between him and Cadel Evans is the same 10 seconds it's been since Liège. Vincenzo Nibali is 3rd at 16 seconds. Rein Taaramäe is up to 4th, Denis Menchoff 5th. Then it's the Radio Shack pair of Aymar Zubeldia and Maxime Montfort, with Nicolas Roche up to 8th. Chris Froome has ridden himself into 9th with Mick Rogers right behind him, and it's Fabian Cancellara, Samuel Sanchez and Jurgen van den Broek.